Hey, what is up, YouTube boxing family? It is K-Rod here. I'm back with another good video for y'all today. I wanted to talk about Mr. Yordenis Ugas and his recent comments on Errol Spence. For those of you that don't know, Ugas had said recently in the past that Errol Spence will be his easiest southpaw he's ever faced. Basically, Ugas is guaranteeing, absolute victory against Errol Spence, and I find that very weird that he says that. But I'm gonna just dive in deeper about it because I figured this is a good video to, you know, criticize him on. So, Ugas had said, I think in like some interview that he was asked about, but I believe he just made the statement that Errol Spence will be easy work, and he's like going to be the same test that he had against Manny Pacquiao, but just way easier. And I just think that's like the stupidest thing you could ever say as a Ugas fighter, because it's like, Errol Spence is like a really hyper, aggressive southpaw. And I mean, Errol Spence's biggest weakness as a southpaw is just having the defensive lapse, but that's about it. EJ, when he's fully focused, is like damn near unstoppable. And I will say that Errol Spence possesses a lot of talents in his arsenal that makes him a more dangerous fighter at the end of the day. And I think Errol Spence. Oh shit! I'm sorry. Um, sorry. Hold on. Hold on. All right. Yeah. Sorry. But yeah, basically, the reason why Ugas had said that in the first place about EJ is probably due to the fact that he probably thinks Errol Spence is going to be a much easier fight compared to what people have had once, thought of him. And I think Ugas is just coming out of the belief to think that Errol Spence will be a lot easier compared to his previous versions before the car accident. And I think this is just like a huge, a huge problem of Ugas, overlooking Errol. And I just think, honestly, at the end of the day, Errol Spence knows what's going to happen in this fight against Ugas, but I think Ugas understands that Errol Spence is not like, he's nobody to play with. He's not going to let, a guy like Ugas just push him around and just do what he wants to do with Errol. And I think Errol Spence has a lot to gain in this fight because he knows what the cost is of losing to a Yordenis Ugas. It definitely puts him in a really bad position as a, future contender for 154, but I don't really think so, honestly. I think even if Errol Spence loses, at least he lost to a highly dedicated Ugas, and at least him and Bud, that'll actually make 147 a lot easier for him to just come back and try to become a mandatory. So, I mean, obviously, but the politics would just be a lot more dangerous for Errol because, he wouldn't have that much breathing room as, as a potential contender at 147. And I just think, honestly, like, Errol Spence is just basically going to just, beat the living crap out of Ugas. And I don't see Ugas really having this advantages that he says that he's going to do against Errol. And I don't think Ugas honestly really believes in what he says. He's just doing it just to create, controversy between him and Errol just to build up with the fight. And then, by time when it does become fight time, then I think Ugas, he's going to, I think Ugas is basically going to fold against Errol. I think EJ has a lot to gain, and Ugas, he has a lot to lose. And I think what this fight will show is that Errol Spence being more dangerous and dedicated is a lot more dangerous compared to the one that is not dedicated, but he's still dangerous, in a fight. So I think what's going to happen is that Ugas, he's going to get carried away of thinking Errol Spence isn't going to be this big, this big problematic fighter that he once was. And I think what's going to happen is that Ugas is going to leave himself wide open, and Errol's basically going to beat the crap out of him. I think honestly, like, it's going to be one of those type of fights where Ugas is going to just leave himself hanging throughout the fight, and it's going to be those type of fights where Ugas just can't handle Errol Spence's pressure, and I would probably say his tenacity too. So I mean, Ugas, he's a tremendous fighter. He's not going to be easy for anybody, and I mean, if you leave him hanging and you try to play around with him, he's going to make you pay, and he could definitely hurt you in a fight. Obviously, he's not known to be a knockout puncher, but he is known to actually give you some hard shots in a fight where he could definitely stun you. And I think in this fight with EJ, I think Errol is not going to allow Ugas to punish him as much as Ugas thinks he will. And I think Errol is going to have a lot more success landing those harder shots that are going to push Ugas back, in the fight. And I think it's going to just be those type of fights where, Ugas is not going to win off of inside trades, but as far as outside trades, I think Ugas can definitely do well. See, now, with Ugas's main weaknesses is that he don't like pressure. Ugas is just not that type of guy to, subvert to pressure. And I think just based off of how he fights very conventionally outside. He's not so much of an inside fighter. I think what's going to happen in this fight between him and Errol is that Ugas, he's going to get so comfortable fighting on the outside, but then when Errol starts to press him and starts to, move just as fast as Ugas, in which I don't think Ugas is going to move around a lot. I think he's going to do the same thing like he did against Manny Pacquiao, and I think he's going to fold. I think Ugas is going to basically go through the same motions that he did with Pacquiao, but it's going to end up way worse just simply because Errol, he's not going to allow Ugas to gain any traction, and I think EJ is going to come in with like a lot more offensive pressure, and then he's going to catch him off the defensive end to pull back counter, hook him, with body shots or, uppercuts that Errol like to do. So I think Ugas is going to be in massive trouble when that time does happen within the fight. And I think if Errol is successful, he could very well stop him. Obviously, that's going to be a really tough task to do because, Ugas, he's never been stopped, but he's been on the verge of getting knocked out a couple times. But I don't know. I think, honestly, this is a true 50-50 fight. I don't know who would really win, just simply because that, both styles are very hard to tell. But I will say that whoever is able to get their rhythm off technically wins, the fight. And I think EJ, he's going to pull it off. I don't think Ugas is going to have any breathing room in the fight that's going to make him successful. So I just think how that fight's going to go down is that Errol, he's going to be very successful late game, but I think early game, Ugas is going to try to bank in, those early rounds, and then he's going to have to work off of his bicycle. But I think if Errol Spence catches him early and tries to get him hurt early, that's going to be a really tough night for Ugas. So, I don't know. I think, honestly, it's going to be a very tough fight. And I'm definitely favoring Errol. And I think EJ is going to have a lot more success versus Ugas. So, I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, they are fighting for unification. So this is a road to undisputed. So it's good that Ugas and Errol are getting this fight out the way, so that way undisputed can be closer. So I don't know. I think honestly, Errol's gonna beat him, but it's gonna be tough. So, yeah. So, that's pretty much it for my thoughts. And, yeah, let me know what y'all think. And, yeah. I'll see you guys later. Peace out. Bye.